They say love is about sacrifice. About believing in someone with everything you have, even when it costs you everything. I used to believe that. I believed that if you worked hard enough, loved hard enough, they'd stay loyal. But sometimes the person you build your whole world around is the one who burns it to the ground. This is my story. Of love. Of betrayal. Of survival. My name's Alex. I'm 30 years old. And if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd end up here, betrayed, broken, questioning everything I ever believed in, I would have laughed in your face. I wasn't always like this. Back then, I was hopeful. One of those guys who believed in love stories. Who thought that hard work, loyalty, and sacrifice actually meant something. And then there was Emma. We met on a Tuesday afternoon. It was raining, that soft, misty kind of rain that clings to your jacket and makes everything smell like wet asphalt. I ducked into a small coffee shop near the university, trying to dry off and get a caffeine fix before heading to my second job. That's when I saw her, behind the counter, laughing at something her coworker said. She had this messy bun, strands of chestnut hair falling out, freckles dusting her nose, and those green eyes that seemed way too big for her face. She looked real. Not polished. Not fake. Just real. And in a world that already felt cold and transactional, that hit me like a punch to the gut. I kept coming back. At first, it was just for the coffee. Then it was for the conversations, the way she'd light up talking about her dreams of becoming a lawyer, of making a difference in the world. The way she leaned across the counter when she laughed. The way she said my name like it mattered. After a few weeks, I finally worked up the nerve to ask her out. We went to a cheap diner down the street. Shared a basket of fries and a couple of milkshakes. It wasn't fancy, but it felt perfect. Emma told me she'd gotten into a great university program but wasn't sure how she was going to afford it. Her family, well, they weren't exactly supportive. Money was tight. She said she was thinking of giving up. And something inside me snapped. I didn't want her to give up. I wanted to be the reason she succeeded. So, I offered to help. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Just, we'll figure it out together. She cried. Right there, in that crappy vinyl booth, with ketchup-stained napkins and sticky menus, she cried and said she loved me. And I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. I picked up more shifts. Construction during the day. Security at night. Odd jobs on weekends, landscaping, moving furniture, fixing busted fences. Whatever it took. Every paycheck I got, I put a chunk aside for Emma. For her books. For her tuition. For her dreams. Sometimes, late at night when I was too wired to sleep, I'd imagine us years down the line, her, in a sleek office, winning cases, saving lives, me, standing by her side, proud as hell. It didn't matter how tired I was. It didn't matter that I hadn't bought myself a new pair of boots in 3 years, or that my car coughed and wheezed every time I turned the key. This was for us. For our future. And for a while, it felt like she believed that too. She'd text me during class, cute little selfies, jokes, I miss you, S. She'd fall asleep on my chest on the rare nights we had together, mumbling about how lucky she was. But little by little, things started to shift. At first, it was subtle. She was busier, meetings, study groups, late-night, networking events, that I wasn't invited to. She started dressing differently, too, tighter skirts, lower-cut tops. Said it was because she needed to fit in with the law crowd. I didn't question it. I trusted her. Then came the night I decided to surprise her. I got off work early, picked up her favorite caramel latte, and headed to the campus park where she said she'd be studying. I found her all right. Sitting on a bench. laughing way too hard at something an older man said. Touching his arm. Looking at him the way she used to look at me. He was probably in his 50s. Wearing a blazer and jeans, casual, but expensive casual. There was something about the way he leaned in, the way she smiled back, that made my stomach turn. When she finally noticed me standing there like an idiot, she jumped up, all flustered. Alex. Hey. This is just my professor, Dr. Whitmore. He's helping me with a paper. That's all. I nodded. I even smiled. I shook his damn hand. And inside, something cracked. Not enough to shatter me. Not yet. But enough to leave a hairline fracture, the kind that, with enough pressure, eventually destroys everything. I told myself I was crazy. That she loved me. That I was just tired and overthinking. I buried the doubt. I buried the ache. I buried myself deeper into work, deeper into debt, deeper into the fantasy that this was all still worth it. After all, we were a team. Right? We had dreams we were building together. I just didn't know. I was the only one still holding the hammer. Graduation day. I'll never forget it. Emma stood there in her cap and gown, grinning like she'd just conquered the world. And in a way, she had. Her diploma was in her hand, and my fingerprints were all over it. Every sleepless night. Every shift I worked until my hands bled. Every sacrifice. It was all right there in that rolled-up piece of parchment. She ran into my arms after the ceremony, laughing and crying at the same time. I couldn't have done it without you, she whispered into my ear. And in that moment, everything felt worth it. I dropped to one knee, right there on the lawn, surrounded by hundreds of strangers. Pulled out the cheap little ring I'd been saving for months. Nothing fancy, a modest diamond in a simple gold setting. But when she saw it, she gasped like it was the Hope diamond. Yes. Yes, Alex, yes, she screamed. The crowd cheered. I was the happiest man on earth. We didn't waste much time planning the wedding. Emma said she didn't want anything big, just something intimate with close friends and family. I offered to pay for more if she wanted it, but she insisted on keeping it small. Looking back, I wonder if she just didn't want too many witnesses. The day itself was beautiful. She wore a simple white dress, barefoot on the beach, hair blowing in the wind. I couldn't stop staring at her. I couldn't stop thinking, God, how did I get so lucky? Her vows were sweet but rehearsed. Like she was reading lines from a script she'd memorized. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was too caught up in the fantasy. The first few months of marriage were different. We moved into a tiny apartment downtown. I thought it would be cozy, just us against the world, like it had always been. But Emma started pulling away almost immediately. Late nights at work. Weekend retreats for new associates at her law firm. Business trips that popped up with zero notice. She was always too tired. Too busy. Too stressed. When we were together, she was distracted, glued to her phone, texting people I didn't know. When I asked about it, she'd get defensive. It's just work, Alex. Stop being so insecure. I tried to believe her. I really did. But there were little things. Like how she changed her phone password without telling me. How she started going to the gym at weird hours. How she suddenly had all these friends I'd never met, and somehow there was never time for me anymore. One night, I made a mistake. I went through her purse. I didn't find much. Just a second phone charger, one I didn't recognize, and a receipt from some upscale bar I knew she hadn't gone to with me. When I confronted her about it, she flipped out. Are you spying on me now? God, Alex, you're so paranoid. She slammed the bedroom door so hard the picture frames rattled. I slept on the couch that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering when exactly my marriage had stopped being ours. Maybe it had never been real to her. Maybe I was just a stepping stone, like a rental car you use to get to your real destination. I started noticing more signs. She laughed less around me. Smiled less. Barely touched me unless it was for appearances, quick kisses when friends were around, hollow hugs at family dinners. There were days I barely recognized the woman I'd married. And somewhere, deep down, I started to realize. The Emma I loved might have never really existed. I was clinging to a memory, to a dream I built with my own blood and sweat. Meanwhile, she was living a different dream. One that didn't have space for me anymore. Still, I stayed. Because love makes you stupid. Because promises mean something to people like me. Because I believed, stupidly, desperately, that maybe, just maybe, we could fix it. Maybe she just needed time. Maybe the stress would pass. Maybe she would come back to me. I didn't know it yet. But the woman I was waiting for. She was already long gone. It happened on a Tuesday. Just another boring, gray, forgettable Tuesday. I got off work early for once. The sky was heavy and low, pressing down with that familiar misty rain that clings to your skin and soaks you without you even noticing. Same kind of rain as the day I met her. I should have seen it as a bad omen. When I walked into our apartment, the place felt empty. Not physically, her jacket was thrown over a chair, her heels were by the door, her coffee mug sat half-finished on the counter. But still, it felt empty in a way I couldn't explain. Like she had already left, even if her things hadn't. I kicked off my boots, tossed my keys into the bowl by the door, and headed for the couch. Emma's laptop was sitting open on the coffee table, humming softly. I didn't mean to look. God knows, I wasn't the type to snoop. But the screen caught my eye. A blinking notification, new email. Just sitting there. Taunting me. Subject line. Last night was unforgettable, baby. Same time Friday. At first, my brain didn't process it. It didn't fit. It didn't belong in my world. I leaned closer. The cursor hovered, hesitating. Then, a click. The email was short. Painfully short. Sweet, dirty, intimate. Talking about her laugh. Her body. How he couldn't get enough of her. I scrolled, my hand shaking so badly I could barely keep the mouse steady. At the bottom, no signature, no name. Just a stupid little heart emoji. I sat back on the couch, staring at the screen, feeling like the ground under me had just disappeared. My chest tightened. My breathing got shallow. The world blurred around the edges. No. No, this isn't real. I muttered it out loud like an idiot, like maybe if I said it enough times it would somehow unhappen. But the universe wasn't feeling generous that day. Another notification popped up. This time, a synced text from her phone. I can still smell you on me. Can't wait to see you again. And attached, a photo. Not a selfie. Not some innocent dinner pic. No, it was them. Blurry. Close. Two bodies tangled together. Her bare shoulder. Her hair sprawled across a white pillow. And around her neck, the delicate silver necklace I had given her for our first anniversary. The one she promised never to take off. I felt the air leave my lungs. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. Violation. Total annihilation of everything I thought we had. The beer slipped from my hand. It hit the carpet, the glass rolling sideways, spilling foam and cheap lager across the floor. I didn't even move. Didn't even blink. I just sat there, staring into space, my mind spinning in 1,000 directions at once. The memories hit me like bullets. Our late nights talking about the future. Her promises whispered in the dark. Her tears when I said I'd pay for her tuition. Her smile when she wore that necklace for the first time. All of it. All of it. A goddamn lie. I slammed the laptop shut, the crack of the hinge breaking the heavy silence in the room. It should have felt satisfying. It didn't. It felt like slamming the lid on a coffin. When Emma came home an hour later, she was humming. Humming. She breezed through the door like nothing in the world was wrong. Bag slung over her shoulder, texting furiously on her phone, laughing at something I would never be part of. She kissed my cheek, mechanical, distracted, her perfume overwhelming, sweet and heavy and disgusting. Work was insane, she said, kicking off her shoes. I'm dead tired. I'm gonna grab a quick shower. She didn't even look at me. Didn't notice the beer on the carpet. Didn't notice the laptop was closed differently. Didn't notice the way I was sitting there, still as a statue, fists clenched so tight my knuckles were white. She didn't care. Not about the apartment. Not about the spilled beer. Not about me. She was already living a different life, a life where I didn't exist except as a paycheck, a placeholder. I watched her disappear into the bathroom, heard the water start to run. I sat there, staring at the door, feeling something inside me die. Not just love. Not just trust. Something deeper. Something I couldn't get back. I didn't confront her. Not that night. I didn't scream. I didn't rage. I didn't throw things. Instead, I stayed up. Sat on that miserable couch. Stared out the window into the rainy night, counting the cracks in my own soul. By sunrise, I wasn't the same man anymore. The pain was still there, raw, searing, but under it, something colder had taken root. Something steadier. Sharper. Deadlier. It wasn't about saving our marriage anymore. It was about making sure she'd never forget what she threw away. The morning after the messages, the world felt different. The rain had stopped sometime around dawn, leaving the streets slick and shining under the weak sunlight. But inside me, the storm was just getting started. Emma was still asleep when I got up. She lay there in our bed, tangled in the sheets, her hair spread out over the pillow, her face peaceful. So damn peaceful. Like she hadn't just burned our entire life to the ground. I stood there in the doorway for a long time. Just watching her. Trying to feel something, anything, that wasn't pure, blinding rage. But all I felt was cold. Cold and tired. I went through my morning routine on autopilot. Shower. Coffee. Sit at the kitchen table and pretend like I still had a normal life. Emma wandered out around 10, yawning, stretching, wearing one of my old t-shirts, the one she always said was her favorite because it smelled like me. Now it just made me sick. She kissed the top of my head casually as she passed by, completely oblivious. You're up early, she said, rifling through the cabinets for cereal. Yeah, I said, keeping my voice neutral. If she noticed anything wrong, she didn't show it. Or maybe she just didn't care enough to look. Either way, it made everything easier. Over the next few days, I made a decision. I wasn't going to blow up. I wasn't going to scream, or beg, or throw plates at the wall. No. That would give her too much satisfaction. I wanted her to feel it slowly. Like a blade sliding between the ribs, not a hammer to the face. I started making a plan. First thing, money. I went to the bank on my lunch break, quietly, discreetly. Opened a separate account in my name only. Started moving small amounts of cash over, bit by bit, so it wouldn't trigger any red flags. She never paid attention to the finances anyway. She was too busy chasing dreams that didn't include me. Second thing, information. I started digging. Not just into her emails and texts, I already knew enough to destroy her. No, I wanted leverage. Credit card statements. Phone bills. Social media. It didn't take long to find what I needed. A pattern. A trail of lies and late-night rendezvous and hotel stays billed to our joint account. She wasn't even careful. The disrespect was almost impressive. Third thing, timing. I didn't want some messy, emotional confrontation. I wanted the ground to collapse under her feet without her even seeing it coming. I started pulling away, slowly, subtly. Stopped texting her first. Stopped initiating conversations. Stopped making plans for us. When she asked what was wrong, I smiled and said, "Nothing, just tired." She bought it. Of course she did. Because in her mind, she had already won. I was just the background noise in the life she was building with someone else. But in the background, I was building something too. An escape hatch. A trap. A future where she wouldn't have a safety net to fall into. At night, when she came home smelling like a stranger's cologne, I pretended not to notice. When she laughed at texts she wouldn't show me, I pretended not to care. When she slipped into bed and turned her back to me, I stared at the ceiling and counted the days until it would all come crashing down. It wasn't about hurting her anymore. It was about showing her. Showing her exactly what it felt like to be discarded, forgotten, replaced. I wasn't her stepping stone anymore. I was the goddamn earthquake. The final straw came 2 weeks later. I came home early again, only this time, I didn't make any noise when I opened the door. I heard voices, soft, laughing, intimate. Her voice. And his. In our kitchen. The kitchen I built for us with my own hands. I stood there for a minute, listening. Letting it soak in. Burning the memory into my brain so I'd never forget why I was doing this. Then I turned around. Walked right back out the door. Didn't say a word. Didn't slam anything. Just walked. Because the next time we spoke, it would be the last time. And when it happened, she wouldn't see it coming. The day I chose to leave Emma. The sun was shining. Not raining. Not cloudy. No dramatic storm rolling in over the horizon. Just a regular, beautiful day. The kind of day when you should feel alive. And somehow, that made it perfect. I waited until a Friday. I knew she had plans that night. I knew she thought she was clever, sneaking off after work drinks with her new toy. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't even pack my things in front of her. No. That would have given her the drama she wanted, the tears, the apologies, the manipulation. Instead, I made it clean. Surgical. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we had once planned our future, and left a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A real letter. Ink and paper. Something she couldn't ignore. I kept it short. 4 sentences. Emma. I know everything. The accounts are closed. The apartment lease is terminated. By the time you read this, I'll be long gone. No anger. No insults. No begging. Just facts. Cold. Hard. Final. I took my time gathering my things. Only what mattered. The essentials. The things she hadn't tainted. The rest? I left behind, memories I no longer needed. By noon, I was gone. New bank account. New apartment across town. New number. A new life. A real one. One she had no part in. I didn't block her right away. I wanted to see the aftermath. Just once. Around 6 p.m., the calls started. First a few. Then a dozen. By 9 p.m., my phone was buzzing non-stop, calls, texts, voicemails piling up. The first few messages were confused. Where are you? Call me, please. Then came anger. You coward. You're overreacting. And then, panic. Please, Alex, we can fix this. I made a mistake. One mistake. One mistake. Funny how they always say that when they get caught. Funny how years of betrayal can be rewritten into a mistake when it's convenient. I turned off the phone. Not out of rage. Not out of sadness. Out of peace. The next day, she showed up at my new place. I wasn't stupid, I never gave her the address. But Emma was persistent when she wanted something. She pounded on the door, yelling. Crying. Alex. Please. Just talk to me. Through the peephole, I saw her. A mess of smeared mascara, shaking hands, the same necklace glinting around her neck. The same one I had once saved 2 months' salary to buy. The same one she wore while she slept with him. I didn't open the door. Not out of cruelty. Out of survival. Because I knew if I let her in, even for a second, she'd try to sink her claws back into my skin. No more. I owed myself better. She eventually gave up, slumping against the door, sobbing into her hands. It should have broken me. Maybe the old me, the fool who believed in us, would have cracked. But the man standing behind that door wasn't the same man anymore. He had learned the hardest, most painful lesson of all. Love without respect is just self-destruction. And I was done destroying myself for someone who only saw me as a convenience. I waited until her footsteps faded down the hall before I exhaled. Long, slow. Final. Then I turned around, walked back into my new apartment, and shut the door behind me. Not just the door to that apartment. The door to her. To the past. To the life I almost wasted. And for the first time in years, I smiled. It's funny how fast the world can flip. 3 months ago, Emma had it all. Or at least she thought she did. The career. The better man. The future she thought would be bigger, brighter, without me dragging her down. And now, she was alone. Worse than alone, abandoned. Turns out, her affair partner, Dr. Whitmore, the charming professor, wasn't exactly the knight in shining armor she imagined. He didn't leave his wife. He didn't offer her a new life. Hell, he didn't even call her back once I walked out. As soon as the safety net disappeared. As soon as the apartment, the credit cards, the financial cushion were gone. So was he. Emma was stuck paying rent she couldn't afford. Juggling bills she didn't understand. Begging friends for couch space when the landlord finally changed the locks. And every desperate text she sent me after that. Ignored. Not out of hate. Not out of revenge. Out of clarity. I didn't owe her a damn thing anymore. Meanwhile, me. I was busy building a life she wouldn't even recognize. I took all the money I'd been pouring into her dreams for years. And I invested it where it should have gone from the start. Into myself. First, I fixed my wardrobe. No more old construction boots with holes in the soles. No more second-hand jackets or jeans worn thin at the knees. I bought myself Real clothes, tailored, sharp, the kind that made you walk a little taller just putting them on. Leather boots that actually felt like armor. Watches that caught the light just right. Sunglasses that made me look, and feel, like someone who finally knew his own worth. Next, I hit the gym. Not for revenge. Not to impress anyone. For me. For every night I spent grinding away at a job I hated while she played dress-up with other men. For every time I made myself small so she could feel bigger. Every rep. Every drop of sweat. Every sore muscle the next morning, it was a brick laid in the foundation of the new life I was building. I started reading again too. Business books. Finance. Self-development. Stuff I used to think didn't matter because I was too busy trying to support someone else's dreams. Now I was building my own. People started noticing. Strangers held doors open for me. Clients shook my hand a little firmer. Women smiled at me differently, longer, warmer. I didn't chase any of it. I didn't need to. Because the real change wasn't on the outside. It was in the way I carried myself. The way I looked in the mirror and finally recognized the man staring back. As for Emma, I heard bits and pieces through mutual acquaintances. The law firm found out about the affair. Turns out, sleeping with a professor who had connections to their biggest clients wasn't a good look for a junior associate. She got demoted. Then quietly pushed out. Word was, she was working at a small, dusty office downtown now. Barely making ends meet. Dating guys who looked more like lost boys than men. Trying to chase the highs she once had, and failing. Sometimes, late at night, when the city lights flickered outside my new apartment windows, I'd think about her. Not with anger. Not even with sadness. Just, with gratitude. Because if Emma hadn't betrayed me, if she hadn't ripped my heart out and left me bleeding, I might still be there. Still small. Still stuck. Instead, I got to become someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who didn't just survive betrayal, but thrived because of it. And that was the real revenge. Living a life so damn good. She wouldn't even recognize me if she tried.